Well, look who's back. I hope you all missed me. I missed you all. At least maybe some of you missed me, I hope. Anyways, you might be asking yourself, where have you been? So I got to tell you, the last few months have been busy. So I've relocated my shop from Richmond, Virginia, out here to Springfield, Missouri. Back in June, moved out here. You don't want to hear the whole boring story, so I'll save you that. But anyways, it's taken me this long to get the new shop set up, get my equipment put together, find a place to set it up. It's been a chore, but we're back, and we're back manufacturing again. Luckily, I manufactured a bunch to get me through, the summer and fall selling season. So feel free to continue to shop PirateBayCompany.com, and thank you all for continued support and shopping with me through the transition. But anyways, in the new shop today, first time running some new baits, running some plastics. We're going to fire up some formulas and we'll see how it goes. But what I thought I'd do is I'd take you on a little walking tour of the new shop and how I have it set up, some things I did differently, and maybe some ideas I'll give you guys for your shop. So let me just take you on a quick little rundown here. So bear with me while I jiggle you around a little bit. Anyways, so this is the new bait station. So basically I bought this racking we've got a home center here called Menards. And I don't know if Home Depot or Lowe's carries it, but I bought this racking and I just outfitted it with my bait making station. So we'll kind of start off here in the corner. Got just the usual, my pneumatic vise, which you guys have probably all seen. My chiller plates, which I just got all replumbed. And real quick, we'll talk about that while we're here. The way that I plumb my chiller plates, and I've seen a lot of guys do it differently, but basically I've got water coming in and then it rolls through all these other lines and then exiting out. I've seen some guys that have like a manifold that each plate plugs into, and I just find that mine seems to work better this way. Anyways, to each his own. But so that's my vise and my chiller plates. Up here, just all my colorants and flake, these little racks. I built these. These are in my old shop. I built these myself. And there's all my colorants. Most are still sealed up from, being delivered and shipped. Down here, it's just I use 4 different blends of dead-on plastic. I do put spigots on all of mine. One thing that, if you're going to do that, in talking to the guys at Dead On, I used to use the Lowe's or Home Depot bucket, but the guys said their plastic wall is thicker in their bucket. And lo and behold, it actually is. So what I do is I take the plastic out of this bucket, I put the hole in it, put the spigot on it, then I put it back in, and I also put these little screw lids on top. I ordered these on Amazon. Lowe's sells them in stock, but I could order these on Amazon. Then I just obviously use my drill and my mixer, yada, yada, yada. You know how that goes. And of course, we got a mini shooting star. Just went through and kind of rebuilt it. I mean, I put it through its paces last year. Holy cow, I made a lot of baits. But it's a good little unit. But I went through and cleaned it up, rebuilt it. And really rebuilding it is like O-rings and washers, and these little brass discs wear out a little bit. So that was pretty much all I did there. And of course, injectors, my motors. I find these little pegboard metal ones work great. I used to use the wooden, that's MDF board actually, but with the weight of these units on top, they'd often pull out. So I bought these metal ones. I actually bought them on Amazon too, but I think you can buy them at Lowe's or Home Depot, any of those places. One thing I do with my pots is, as I said, I have peg hooks that hold my motors, but what that allows me to do is when I pull my motor out of the pot, I can put it on, lay it like this, and then all the plastic just kind of drips back into the pot. And I see already, I got to slide my pots backwards because I want the pot to be back here so it catches all this plastic dripping off. So we'll have to unscrew this and just slide this backwards a little bit. So I'm glad we did that little exercise because that would have really sucked if I had 350 degree plastic just dripping off the back of that thing. Then I just put in these little shelves. Again, I bought these on Amazon. for all my different molds and all that good stuff. One thing I did different this year, excuse my mess, I'm still kind of getting cleaned up, but I located my microwave directly under my vacuum pot. One thing I was struggling with last year is I'd pull hot plastic out of the microwave and I never had a good place to put it in the vacuum chamber. So this way I can pull it directly out of the microwave, vac it, and then go right and put it right in the pot. Last year it was kind of dysfunctional. It was all over the place. It was a mess. So that's kind of my, I almost forgot this, the hood. So this hood, this is my vent hood. So let me just step back so you can see the whole thing. So there's my vent hood that I create, that I make. On top of here, you'll see there's some plumbing that comes up. There's a motor right here, is a fan. It goes up, whoop, into the attic. And I actually run it, I vent it out the roof. So this is a 10-inch pipe. I don't know why I'm forgetting the term. But anyways, I got a 10-inch fan that moves about 1,250-ish cubic feet of air. And then underneath here, you'll see I've got 2 vents. And one thing I've learned from years of doing this is do not put these vents over the top of where you're pulling your plastic. Because what will happen, as you're standing here, the vents will pull that smoke into your face. So I offset the vents over to the side so it pulls all the smoke, it draws it over to the side and then ducts it out. That's the word I was looking for, ductwork. It ducts it out up through the roof. But last year I had an 8-inch fan, which did a good job. This year I went with a bigger 12-inch, and it's a metal one. So the 8-inch one I had a plastic housing. And when I was taking things apart and moving, I noticed that housing was cracked, because you got to think that thing's going to be running for 8 or 10 hours a day. So I went to a better fan, 10-inch, gives me more ventilation, 10-inch ductwork, and as I said, it goes up and vents out the roof to a roof vent. So hopefully it'll get all the stink and smoke out of here. Continuing down, so this is the where I do all my hard baits. So again, I've made a new fluid bed. Only used 4 pots this time. I had 6 before, or maybe it was 5, whatever it was. It just wasn't necessary. So I went with 4. Again, I got my little mini belt sander mounted to it, my heat gun, a compressor. And again, you don't need a compressor. You can use a pump like this. This is a basic aquarium pump. But I got such a good deal on this compressor at a thrift shop, $12. Like, this is a $90 compressor, 12 bucks. So I'm like, I gotta buy it and I'll use it. And again, I got all my different hook sizes for all my jigs, swim baits, whatever. Some back stock of hooks and components, yada, yada, yada. Then of course, all my powder paints are over here. My oven, I'm in the process now of rebuilding my metal pot. So every year you just got to get in the habit of buying a new pot for it and switching it out. So I'm in the process of doing that. But yeah, so this is kind of my setup now, which I think I've got it just spaced out correctly. I've got enough room to work. Everything has a home, and I've got extra storage down below. So, the other thing that I did is I moved my compressor way over to here, because I hated when I was shooting a video and my compressor would kick on and it was like right underneath me. So anyways, I moved the compressor over to this side. The other thing I'll show you real quick. So my chiller plate system is maybe a little different than other people's. So I see a lot of guys using like a cooler or a water type jug. I use a simple 5-gallon bucket. And it works fine, perfectly fine for me. So again, this is one of these lids you buy at Lowe's. Yeah, so inside of here, I just have my pump, pumping water out, and then of course a return line coming back in. And so I'll fill that with water, I'll put the ice packs in it, and to me that works perfectly fine. The other thing I'm gonna do, and I haven't done it yet, is put a spigot on the bottom. So when I wanna drain the water out, put it on the bottom, I just connect my garden hose to it, open it up, and just drain the water outside the garage. So that's in process. We're not going to use the chiller plates today anyways, so I'm not really too terribly worried about it. But yeah, that's how I do my chiller plates. I think that, you know, when you think about, this is the way it was explained to me. So a cooler is designed to retain the temperature of whatever's inside of it. So if you're running hot water in there, you know, regardless of how many packs you put in there, ice packs, you know, that water is going to heat up, and there's no reason to retain that hot water. So I just let it kind of, the water packs do their thing, and I've never had a problem. But I'm not going to spend $40 on a cooler to plug holes in it when I can spend $10 on that bucket or I think it's like $4 for the bucket, and the lid is like $10. So anyways, it works. And it's real simple. Yeah, let me think here. That's everything, I believe. The new shop. But yeah, so that's our new setup. So anyway, I'll put you back over here, roll you back around. Yeah, so that's the new shop. And what we're gonna do today and probably the rest of the week, running a whole ton of baits. What I'll do is, let me do this for you too. Let me show you how I decide. I'll show you my little, kind of the inside of bait company stuff. So, getting ready for spring, can you believe it? It's only November, but we're getting ready. Let me just turn this down a little bit this way so you can see what I'm doing here. Getting ready for the spring selling season. And of course, you know, Christmas is coming and Black Friday, it's going to be here in a couple weeks. I can't believe it. But anyways, I use Shopify to run my business. And what Shopify does for me, if you could see this, it creates a report for me that lists my on-hand balances. And what I'm focusing on, or where I actually have a zero on-hand balance, so it does all my inventory for me. So as I sell something, obviously the inventory adjusts. And what I'm focusing on first are all my swim baits. Because springtime, you're going to be throwing some kind of minnow imitating bait. And you can see, you know, the quantities 1s, 2s, or 0s that I have. So I've got a lot of minnow baits that I've got to get created. And the way that I kind of decide how I'm going to do this, I always start with the lightest colors first. So Snowshine Shad is basically, it's a clear belly and kind of a milky white back. So that's going to be my number one priority, to run that plastic. My number two priority then is going to be Salt and Pepper, which is a white bait with black flakes. So it gets a little bit darker. Then number 3 is going to be Smoke Shad, and so on and so forth. So I always start out with the most clear bait. And if I'm running multiple colors in the course of a day, which we're going to run, you know, maybe 3 colors today, I'm thinking. So I'll start with the light. This makes cleaning the pot easier. And what becomes difficult is when you run a color like green pumpkin, then you want to switch to Snowshine Shad. You got to make sure all that green pumpkin is out of your machine before you start putting in your Snowshine Shad, say that a bunch of times, colorants, or you're going to have a problem with getting the right color blend. So if you guys are trying to run a business or start a business, I would recommend definitely hooking yourself up with Shopify. It's a great tool. It's what I use to obviously sell with, but also, sorry if I'm making you dizzy, but also it helps me manage the business side of it as well, as far as inventory. It tells me, you know, how many pieces I sell throughout the course of a day, and this isn't a Shopify promo, but you know, if it's going to help you out, I'll gladly share it with you. So let me do this. Let me get everything set up. We're going to run some plastic, and we'll kind of take you through the process. So guys, I'm happy to be back again, and look forward to reading your comments, your input. And if you see anything in my shop that you do differently, man, just let me know in the comments what you see that you like, that you don't like, or what you've done in your shop. That just makes it more efficient, because when you're running quantities of baits, man, you got to be efficient. You got to be efficient. So stay tuned. We'll be back. We'll run some baits here in a few seconds. Alrighty, folks, we are back. So as I mentioned, we're going to do our swim bait, Snowshine Shad. Snowshine's a really simple color. Basically, it's a white back with 0.015 black flake and Snowshine belly with some 0.015 silver flake. And yeah, I know you've seen this before, but here's my little cheat sheet. So that's the one we're doing today. One of these days I'm going to post this for everybody, but what I want to do first, I got some corrections I got to make, so I don't want to post something that's not 100% accurate. So give me this fall and winter to make some corrections to my cheat sheet, and I'll get it posted for you guys. I have no problem sharing, my formula, because as I said, I'll show you real quick. Snow shine up here. It's 12 drops of dead on white per cup, and I'm doing 5 cups. And then it's also, 40 drops of snow shine dead on per cup with 0.015 silver flake. So a real simple formula. We actually have the white already in the pot. I didn't want to bore you with showing you 12 drops of white, color it into plastisol. So I've got the belly color, the snow shine, heating up now. And we are almost ready. Yep. There's the binger. So what we're going to do, one thing I learned from Adam at SDG, go check out his site, it's really, really great site. But something new this year for me is I'm heating my plastisol up to about 200 degrees just before it starts to move to gel phase, and then I'm putting it inside of my vacuum chamber. And I watched Adam do this, and it seems like it works great. And I just did it for the white, and it worked fantastic. So it's not like bubbling 350 to 400 degree hot, but it's just warm enough to get all that moisture out. So let me roll you over here, and we'll kind of pull that plastic out, and then we're going to put it in a pressure pot. And whoa, sorry for the jiggling. So let's see what we got. So we've got our plastisol warmed up to so we're at 180 degrees. So let's put it in the vacuum chamber. Then we're going to vacuum the moisture and air out of it. What's sketchy is when you're doing it, and it's 350, 375, and you're trying to lift it in there, when you got 6 or 8 cups of hot plastisol, it gets a little sketchy getting it in the old vacuum pot. So let me turn this bad boy on, wherever the on button is. We'll start drawing a vacuum on it. And I would recommend, guys, if you're going to get one of these larger pots, for some reason this particular one, and I don't think it was from Lua Parts, so don't look at that, it doesn't seal quite right. I got to continually wipe this rubber gasket with Windex to get it to seal tight. But anyway, so we're drawing a good vacuum. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay over my exhaust fan, but I love that. Literally, I can just put it in there and really not have to worry about it bubbling over. Whereas before, I'd always have to watch it, make sure it didn't kind of bubble over and go over the cup. But it's a lot quicker, a lot cleaner, and frankly, it's a heck of a lot safer than trying to lift 350 degree plastisol. What I'm doing is I'm cranking up my exhaust fan. I turned it down for the video, but I just turned it back on high. We got a lot of vacuum smoke coming out of here as we're drawing that vacuum, and I want to be sure these fumes go in the proper place. So I apologize for the noise, but we'll get through it here pretty quick. But yeah, what's great, we're almost at full vacuum. Normally, if that plastisol was 375 in that beyond gel phase, it would be bubbling up and it's starting to expand up out of that container as it tried to pull that air and moisture out. But now, as you can see, and I'll kind of poke you in here a little bit, you can see that it's completely in control. It's just starting to bubble up, and it's not going to overflow that container as it draws that moisture and air out of that warm plastisol. So Adam at SDG, whoever shows you that little trick, I forgot the gentleman's name, I know you told us, but give him a big thank you for me and kudos. So we're almost at a full vacuum here. I'm going to let it run for a bit, and then what I'll do is I'll come back and then we'll mix up our formula, and we'll get it in the pot. But as you can see, I've got the white, the back color already in the pot, already mixing. We're doing 5 cups of white, and then of course 5 cups of the snow shine for the belly. We'll get the vacuum drawn on this, And I love this. And we'll get it in, we'll start injecting some baits. So let me give you one more look. So we're at full vacuum, and I'll let it run for a little bit longer to pull more moisture out, but normally that thing would be bubbling over the pot and overflowing into, if you're not careful, into the container. But now, as you can see, it's a completely controlled, pulling that vacuum, pulling that moisture, pulling that air out of that plastisol. So hang with me, guys. I'll be right back, and we'll get this thing mixed up. We'll get it in the pot. We'll start injecting some baits. All right, gang, we are back. So we've got our 5 cups of Dead On Plastics medium blend, heated up. I use a medium blend for anything with a paddle tail. The reason is, typically with a paddle tail bait, it's a reaction bite. So you want something that's a little more durable. The second reason is with a paddle tail, when that thing is moving through the water, if you use a softer blend, that tail wants to kick up and it's very unnatural. So the medium blend gives you a little bit more of a natural presentation in the water. So I wouldn't go anything softer than a medium blend with any paddle tail swim bait. Alrighty, so this is the belly color. And again, this is gonna be 40 drops, whoop, snow shine, and then 1/16, it's 40 drops per cup, and 1/16 of 0.05 silver flake. So we know that, let me show you this real quick. I use these injector things minus the needle. And we know that 1 cc or 1 milliliter on here is roughly 40 drops. So again, this is 40 drops per cup, and I've got 5 cups. So we're gonna fill this baby all the way up to 5 milliliters of snow shine. So I've shaken the daylights out of it. So let's just draw in. And again, we're drawing up 5 milliliters of snow shine. And we go. Give it a stir. Starting to get a little bit solid. I'm going to put this back in the microwave for a little bit. I pulled it out, it was a little cool. I thought I could get away with it, but we're going to put her back in the cooker for probably 2 more minutes. Again, it's a little cooler in here right now, and it's starting to gel up a bit on the bottom. So we got pretty good saturation, and you just want that little bit of sparkle, because when I add the flake in here, it's really going to change this dramatically. So I'm going to throw this back in the microwave. Get her heated back up, then we're going to flake it, and then we're going to put it in the cooker. There we go. Oh yeah, it's perfect. All right, now we're going to do silver flake, and again, it's a 1/16 of a teaspoon per cup. We have 5 cups, so 5/16. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Give her a stir. And you can see that silver flake makes that snow shine really come alive. Oh yeah, let's see what we got here. And again, this isn't a very opaque color. It's very transparent. It's great for a trailer. Great by itself too, but a swim jig trailer, spinnerbait trailer, bladed jig trailer, primarily what guys are using it for. Great in the springtime, because remember, bait fish in the springtime, they don't have a ton of color to them. Alrighty, we're gonna get this in. Let me just move you up here. Whoop. We already have our pot heated up. We're at 322 degrees. We're gonna put our belly color in, get the stirrers going. We got the back color already going. Then we're gonna let everything kind of just heat up and come up to temperature. While that's happening, I'm gonna purge the system of air, and I'll show you how I do that. And then, man, we're gonna start injecting some baits, and I haven't done this in, holy cow, like 6 months. So I gotta tell you, I'm a little nervous. But here we go. Let's get this in the pot and get her cooking. One thing I may have to do is I may have to adjust. Remember, I rebuilt this. I may have to do some adjusting. My other 2 were leaking a little bit, so I had to kind of adjust on those, but let's see what happens. Let's get her in and get her going. All right. Get our stir cranked up here. Get that on. Fire it up. Alrighty, I'm going to pull you in over here a little bit, so bear with me. So you can kind of really get a feel for what we got going on. Alrighty. So my pots, I have my pots set, the belly color, the back color, 316. The belly color, about 320. I like my belly in this particular one to be a little bit warmer than my back, because if there's going to be some bleed, I don't want my back color bleeding into that belly. But as you can see, I had a little bit of leaking going on here. I had to readjust. I got to do it again probably too. Readjust these. This one here is sitting up nice. But there's just O-rings. I replaced them all, but you got to get this nut kind of seated right so it doesn't drip. But that's not too bad. So we're going to let these spin up, get up the temperature. We are going to get our hot glove on, which is this one. And be sure you always have this glove on, because I'll tell you what, man, last year I burned my hands a couple times, and that is not a fun program. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to purge the air out of the system, and also make sure our injector is up to temperature. You'll notice on here I've got B. B is always belly. Belly is always in this side. And then you'll see on my molds I have arrows pointing to where the belly is located. So I line up my B with the arrow. It shoots correctly, so keep that in mind. B, belly. Belly is always here. And then mark your molds where the belly is. A lot of molds already come pre-marked, but when you're kind of going and injecting, man, it's tough to read the label on some of those molds, so I always put in permanent marker arrows where stuff is. So what I do to get the purge the system, I just put the injector in, again, B, belly, so when you turn it, you want B lining up there. And then I just draw it up, push it back. And I'll do this a few times. It'll pull the air out. It'll also get the injector up to temperature. Again, we'll just do a little quick sort of purge. Boom, boom. Draw some up. Now these molds, especially that big one, it takes quite a bit of plastic. We'll do a little. Oh yeah, that looks beautiful. So again, my arrows point to the belly. So we want to go belly this way. And here we go. And yep, it goes fast. Oh, I don't know what just happened there. Anyways, that was weird. Huh. Okay, we'll figure that out. For some reason that overflowed, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't have in that. Remember I told you I lost one of the belly slots? Maybe because I don't have that belly slot piece in there, it flows into the other mold. All right, well, we'll figure it out here in a second when everything cools down. Top these off, get her back in, and inject her back. All right. So we're gonna let that cool. We're gonna figure out what happened here. I injected this one and it popped out of here. I got a feeling, as I said, I lost that one belly slot piece, so I got a feeling one is flowing into the other. So let's let those cool. I'll bring it back, we'll demold, and we'll see what we got. So all right, let's demold and see what the devil we got going on here. So as I said, for some reason, when I injected this cavity, it came out of this one. Well, let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, that's what it was. See, the problem is, as I said, let me just get this out. I lost the belly slot piece that goes in here, so this injected into this mold, so I got to get a hold of the manufacturer and get one of those. Let me get the Epic guys on the phone in the morning and get a new belly slot, which will keep that from happening. But this is the piece I'm talking about. When I moved, I lost one of these. It sits right here. Oh, actually, what I can probably do, maybe, no, I can't. I'm missing the one that goes right there. So, anywho's and ways, that kind of stinks. But here's what we got. Came out pretty good. I might add a little bit of white to the back to get that back a little darker, I think. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to put a little more white in the back because I really want there to be a good distinct line between the two. Let me just pull out these ones here because that could be an effect of not having this piece in place too. So this one here is pretty, actually these are pretty good. The problem is I don't have that tab in place that I'm missing. So I'm only going to be able to run, God, 2 of these at a time. Holy cow, that's going to take forever and a year to get these poured, which is not going to be good or fun. There's the little guys. Perfect. Yeah, these came out great. I think we're right on with the colors. Definitely right on with the colors. And it's a great, if you're fishing clear water someplace, like I used to fish Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia, man, these were just great little reaction baits for on the back of a swim jig, back of a chatterbait, spinnerbait, whatever it may be. But they were great little baits for that. Get this reloaded back up. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the rest of these. I'm not going to bore you with running. I got 5 cups of baits. It's got a couple hours of injecting at this point. So I'm going to run the rest of these, and I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to show you the results. And plus, I'll give you an idea of 10 cups of bait, 10 cups of plastic. How many baits does that produce? And that's one thing. If you're going to run a business, you've got to understand what yield you get out of, let's say, 5 gallons of plastic, because that goes into your pricing structure, your return on investment, ROI. So you got to understand what your yield is going to be out of 5 gallons of plastisol. How many bags of baits are you going to get? And then from there you kind of set your retail price. So anyway, so let me shut you down. I'm going to run the rest of these, and being that I'm only running 2 of these at a time, it's going to take a little bit. So I'll bring it back and we'll see where we finish up. So hang tight with me. I'll be right back here in a second. Gang, welcome back to the shop. We've got all of our baits poured, and you may notice the shop looks a little different right now. That's because this is actually my indoor shop. So outside in my outdoor shop, I manufacture everything. Then once all my baits are poured or jigs are poured or whatever I'm doing out there, I bring them inside. And in this room, basically what happens is everything is packaged, labeled. I put scent in things. Also, inventory is kept here. So there's all these boxes have various things in them. Like this box is, basically Yoho swimmers and inventory. So everything is kept in here. Soft plastics, hard baits, and also my jig tying supplies, shipping stuff, packaging stuff. So this is the indoor piece. And also in here, do all the finishing. So if I'm tying jigs, that'll happen in here, so they're nice and clean and they're not out in the outside shop getting all, dirty and all that good stuff. So so this is where kind of it all comes together and the magic happens. So with that being said, we have our baits poured. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to package. Then we're going to figure out, okay, based on the 6 cups of plastic that we poured, how many packages of baits did we get out of that? What was the yield? And then we'll do a little bit of calculating, some mathematicals. I'm not good at English either, and figure out, okay, what does it really cost to make however many bags of baits that we're going to make? So let's do this. Let me point the camera in a different direction so you're not staring at my ugly mug the whole time, and you can kind of see what I got going on down here. We'll do that. There we go. That's a little better. So here's what I do. So I take all my baits and I add scent to these Ziploc bags, and they sit in these bags for about 24 hours. This amount of baits, I'd probably use a tablespoon of scent and just let it sit in here. You don't want to use too much. A lot of the scents on the market today are they're going to have a worm oil base to them, and what happens, they absorb too much scent and they become very soft. So be careful, don't over scent your baits. It'll do more harm than good. But yeah, so that's what I do. So I separate them off, put them in a bag, let them sit for about 24 hours, and then I'll start packaging. So to do that, and I usually keep them separated by size. If I'm doing multiple different bait profiles, I'll do my best to keep the profiles separated, because I'll tell you, when you're doing a lot of these, every bait starts looking the same. So do as best you can to keep organized, or you're going to end up having some separation problems. Anyways, so what we do, so these are the larger 4.3 swim baits. Man, they stink. I got to find my paper towels because now I got baits sent on my nose. So these are sold in a 6-pack. So let's see if I can get this right. So the key to doing it is you don't want your tails, try and do your best to keep the tails correct and not get them, mashed up in the packaging. So basically I just alternate them this way. Oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong already. Trying to talk and do this at the same time is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So there's 4. There is number 5. And you'll see it just barely fits 6 baits in a package. So now they're in there nice and snug. The tails aren't getting flattened out. And they'll, hold up well and ship really well. So larger ones are 6 in a bag. And it's pretty easy to bag up when they're in a tray. When they're loose, it's kind of difficult. I don't know if there's another way that I do that, but that's basically it. So we bag those up. 6 per tray for the larger ones. The smaller ones, let me just put these here aside, and we'll do a smaller one. Believe me, getting them, I spent more time than you could imagine trying to get in these trays correctly. It's like a big Jenga puzzle, but it's pretty important, because if you get them in there wrong, as I said, the tails get flattened out, and that kills the action of the bait. So these little guys are 10 per package. And these ones you got to do a little bit kind of unique. So again, we're turning them, rotating them, kind of every other, tails going in every other direction. So basically the body of this one fits into the cavity of the tail, and so on and so forth. Get in, there we go. Alrighty. So there's your 10-pack. One thing I've changed this year is I've gone to one size bag for everything. It was just getting ridiculous trying to manage multiple different size bags. So I've really gone to one width bag for all my baits. It's just easier. I had 3 different sizes, and trying to keep inventory of all these bags and everything was difficult. So okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to package all these up, 2 different sizes, and then once I get them all packaged up, we'll figure out, okay, and we've got X amount of bags of baits out of 3 cups of plastic, and then 6 cups, 3 cups of the white, 3 cups of the snow shine on the bottom. So 6 total cups. And then we'll figure out what is our cost of operation, and then see what we yield. So may shut you off. I'm going to package these up real quick, kind of get that out of the way. I won't bore you with any more of that, and then I'll bring you back and we'll kind of walk through the math and figure out the business side of it. So hang with me. I'll be right back. All right, gang, welcome back. So we've got everything packaged up. What we ended up with is, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 bags of bait. So 6 cups of plastic. So that's going to be 3 cups of the white back and 3 cups of the snowshine belly, yielded us 15 bags of baits. So what I want to do is I want to take you kind of through the math of, okay, what does that mean? What does that cost? So basically what I did is that a 5-gallon bucket of plastisol with shipping is $150. So in that 5-gallon bucket, you've got 80 cups of plastisol. As I said, we just used 6 cups. So at $150 for a 5-gallon, 80 cups, that brings us to like $1.88 per cup. So with the 6 cups we used, that's $11.28 worth of plastisol. Now, so 15 baits, let's do the math real quick. 15 bags at $5.99 a bag. Oops, my fingers are big. Equals, so that's about $89.85 at retail. So the cost for the raw material is $11.28 in total. However, on top of that, you've got the cost of the bag, the tray. So we'll add another, dollar. Let's call it $1. I'm just doing a quick estimate here. Let's do $1 per bag. I'll do $1.25. Let's just do that. 1.25 times 15. That's packaging. So that's another 18 bucks. We'll call it 19 bucks to make math easy for packaging. So you got $11.28 in plastisol, $11.28, $19 for the bag. 19 plus 11.28 equals. So really in total, you got about $30.28 to make 15 bags of baits. So and as I said, at retail, it's $89.85. Now, what I'm not calculating, though, you may think, holy crap, that's not too bad. However, there's other costs. There's costs that for electricity. I rent my shop back to myself. So Pirate Bait Company LLC rents the space that I use from Tim Kovaleski, me. So there's that cost, although it's kind of just moving money from one pocket to the other. It's still a business-related cost if you have to go out and get a facility. On top of that, there's equipment costs and equipment maintenance and yada, 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 yada. So although you think, okay, if our total cost is $30.28, let's subtract out $89.85 retail, 85. So roughly $60 in profit. However, deduct from that rent, utilities. I don't pay anybody but myself. I don't make anything. I haven't paid myself yet. But so really out of that $60, I'm probably putting about 20 bucks in my pocket for 15 bags of baits after I deduct out all those other expenses. So, it's you're not making a ton of cash, but for me, it's a hobby that's kind of generates a little bit of income, and it's a lot of fun to do. So the other thing I'll do, I'm just going to flip you around. Hopefully you guys can see this screen. So I use Shopify as my business platform. And what I love about it is that it keeps track of all of my inventory. So what I'll do is I'll go in here to plunder minnow, snowshine shad, 3-inch, and I'll update my on hands to, what did we say we have here? 6 bags. So we're going to adjust this to 6, adjust available, correct. And so we've got 7 total on hand because we had 1. All right, so then I'm going to come down here to my 4.1 inch, and we're going to adjust that on hand to 4, 6, 8, 9 of those bad boys. So 4-inch, oh, wait a minute, snowshine, here we go. 4-inch, so we're just going to crank this up to 9, because that's, whoops, that's what we have on hand now. So there you go. So now my inventory on my website is going to reflect these changes. So that's kind of what I love about, hit save so I don't lose it. But in here, all my inventory is tracked. As I make sales through Shopify, it deducts it. And what I can do with Shopify is I can run a report that tells me all my zero on-hand balances or my lows. I can do anything I want. Right now, I'm focusing on these zero on hand. So my next baits I'm going to keep running minnow baits here. My next one is going to be salt and pepper right here. You can see I've got 1 and 1. So being that I've already run snowshine, which remember the back color is that white, so it's very easy for me to now transition to the salt and pepper, which is basically white with black flake. So that'll be the next one that I run because my on-hands are low on that as well. So anyways, so I hope you guys learned a little bit of something. Not only manufacturing and making, how you do that, the packaging, but the business side of running a little bait company. So any questions, hey, throw them in the comments, man. I would really appreciate a like, follow, share, all that good stuff. As I said, I'm just a little independent bait maker trying to go against these big guys. And, as I said, like most of us, it's a hobby that for me has kind of gotten out of hand, but I love doing it. So check you next time. Thank you guys for viewing. I hope you like the shop. Any shop comments, man, I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys do in your shop. As I said, this is the first run I've made in the new shop. So I'll probably be making a few little tweaks as I go, but anything you guys have, tips, tricks, and ideas, please share them in the comments. Again, hey, thanks for watching. Tim K, Pirate Bait Company. We'll check you soon. Take care.